Breakouts Bonanza continues with one of our favorite guests. It's Tera time. Tera Roberts is here. Welcome, Tera.
Hey guys, how you doing?
You're tired.
Yeah.
It's thank you for staying up with us. 9:30 at night for all of you watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for hanging out with us all night long here. And I think we got to start with this. First, actually, Tera, tell us how we can find your content before we do tight ends.
Twitter is the best place, if that's what we're still calling it. It's Tera time. Is that where you can find me? I post as much as I can humanly remember of what I put out, videos, articles, short videos, TikToks, all that good stuff. You can find it there. Lots of stuff because it is a very busy and very newsworthy time period.
Adam, we have to congratulate Tera. She was I believe today, if I'm not mistaken, Tera, the recipient of the Mike Tagliere Rising Star Award that they do over at Fantasy Pros, and well-deserved. We have obviously got the pleasure of having Tera join us on a lot of our shows over the last couple of years, but one of the best rising stars in the industry. And, exactly.
Keep it going for Tera.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Yes. Love having you on. All right, let's talk about Kyle Pitts here. What kind of a breakout do you foresee for Kyle Pitts, Tera?
I mean, I think he has top 3 potential. Now things have to line up. The problem with him and his breakout potential is that, and I had this conversation with someone the other day, we love so many pieces in this Falcons offense, just how many of them can actually pan out. We love Bijan. We love Drake London. We love Kyle Pitts. We're okay-ish with Desmond Ridder. We don't love him, but we need him to support all of these fantastic players, especially from a receptions point of view when you're adding in Bijan as well. So it just kind of gets down to, if healthy and if the offense is flowing correctly, I have so much confidence that Kyle Pitts can have that big breakout season that we're looking for him, that massive talent upside that we know he has. I just get worried about the consistency when we saw the level of production that when things were going well within the offense that Drake London had. We know the type of production that we can get from Bijan. I'm just worried about what's going to give here, but that's not stopping me from drafting Kyle Pitts because the ADP is fantastic.
And Jamie, what kind of season do you see for Kyle Pitts? Is this going to be one where we say, damn, I wish I had some Kyle Pitts. He is killing. He is winning leagues.
I'm with Tera. I think I might go a step further. He could be 2. He might be better than Mark Andrews. He's just got that type of upside. There's been one other guy in NFL history to go 1,000 yards in his rookie campaign, and it was Mike Ditka. So I don't even know how many people actually realize that he actually played as opposed to just coached. So the way that he started, if he had scored 5 or 6 touchdowns that rookie season, we would be through the roof about what his expectations could be, even with the injuries last year. And Tera said it best. We're asking Desmond Ridder to support 3 of the arguably top players at their position when you factor in their age and their years of service. So it's very challenging. And I spoke to Arthur Smith when I did the cover story for our magazine on Bijan Robinson. I asked him about Desmond Ridder and the 2 receiving options there. And the thing he said about Pitts was his rookie year he had Matt Ryan. His second year he had some questionable quarterback play. And what that meant was a veteran that they could trust to throw the ball versus some guys that they don't have. If they trust Desmond Ridder, then Kyle Pitts and Drake London will be good. If they don't, expect them to lead the NFL in rushing attempts again, and Bijan Robinson will have an unbelievable year if he stays healthy. So I would take a chance on Pitts, as Tera said very appropriately. Based on his ADP, it's much safer than it has been the last 2 years.
What is his ADP? Well, looking at 4 different websites right now, we are talking about round maybe 5, but mostly 6. On CBS, he's going 72nd. On Draft Sharks, Pitts is going with the 11th pick of round 6, so that's 71st, right? On NFC, he's going 72nd. And on Fantasy Pros, Kyle Pitts is going 63rd. So I shouldn't have even said round 5. It's a round 6, maybe early round 7 pick. I feel like I'm never lucky enough to see Kyle Pitts going that late in my drafts. I don't know that I'm sure it's happened with all the mocks, but in the ones I can remember, he's never available in round 6. I would take Kyle Pitts in round 6 every single chance I get. What if you have to take him in round 5, guys? Would you be comfortable taking Kyle Pitts as a top 60 player?
Yeah, I'd be okay with it. I mean, I love George Kittle, but again, we've had the injury concerns. We had the news come out that they want to try and, manage his usage to kind of help out with those injury issues that he's had as well. So when I'm looking at Kyle Pitts, I'm fine with that, taking that leap and kind of pushing him up a tiny bit. I have seen him fall in drafts because there are some people that really love I love Darren Waller too, but some people that are pushing Darren Waller up, they're willing to take that risk. Dallas Goedert as well. So I've seen where he's fallen in a couple of instances.
Yeah, and I think Tera said the name I gravitate to the most, which is Darren Waller. So when I usually see Pitts go, Waller's still on the board. So it's kind of just playing how that will play out. So I would prefer to wait for Waller because I see just as much upside for him if he stays healthy, because we've already seen that. But if it was, if I'm going to draft with 11 other me's and somebody takes Waller first, then I would certainly be happy to take Kyle Pitts after.
Can I get in that draft?
You're not as handsome as those 11 other me's.
I hear that each one gets a little bit less handsome. So maybe if you get to like a 24 team league, I might be able to sneak in there.
No, you'd be in a 15 team.
Thank you. Heath had Pat Freiermuth as a breakout. Are either of you feeling Pat Freiermuth as a tight end breakout?
Yes, to a lesser degree, but not to the heights of being one of those type of players. I think for what you saw last year in some of the metrics, when he got a chance to be sort of that big slot receiver, that was where he stood out. And so, is he going to get those opportunities? Well, you saw they did in the draft. They draft Washington out of Georgia to be more of a blocking presence, and I think help with just everything that he's able to do. And he'll be involved in the passing game as well. We just got through talking about wide receivers and George Pickens and Deontay Johnson, and now having a maybe capable third receiver if Allen Robinson has anything left. I don't know if that's the case. I think Freiermuth will get a little bit more of those opportunities to maybe when they're in some 11 personnel or 12 personnel, with him being more of a slot receiving option, opposite the other side of the slot being Deontay Johnson. I think he's going to be better than what he was a year ago when he scored 2 touchdowns. Rookie season he scored 7 touchdowns. So the touchdowns will certainly probably sway if you feel he's going to be in the top 7 or 8. I hope all those 7 guys stay healthy and outperform him, but for me he's my 8th tight end, so I could see a top 10 finish for sure.
Okay. Bigger upside, Freiermuth or Njoku?
For me, it's Freiermuth.
For me, it's Njoku, if everything pans out correctly with him staying on the field and Deshaun Watson.
Okay. I will spend the second half of the show on Tera's breakouts. Let's finish the first half here with Sam LaPorta and Dalton Kincaid. Did we talk about them as tight end sleepers, Jamie, already? I feel like we did.
I mean, I think he was probably in the sleeper conversation, but for tight end breakouts, it's hard to find a lot of guys. So
right.
I just love their setup. They're sleepers based on their ADP and where you're drafting them. I think, do they have the chance to be starting caliber fantasy tight ends? Absolutely so. So it's the same argument. They're tied to good situations. One's tied to a great quarterback in Kincaid. Going to be probably at worst 3rd on the team in targets, barring an injury. So I think Stephon Diggs is clearly going to be the target leader for Buffalo, and then hopefully Gabe Davis is that second guy. But I think Kincaid could challenge Davis, in terms of how they operate. And all you've heard this offseason is he's going to be on the field a lot. You saw that in the first preseason game when the starters were out there. And then for LaPorta, again, great opportunity, already given the starting tight end role. We saw last year TJ Hawkinson, when he was on the team, averaged 6.5 targets per game. That's a really good place to be for a tight end if that's what LaPorta is going to be looking at. But he has a 6-game head start where, no Jamison Williams. And so Marvin Jones, your favorite player of all time, Josh Reynolds, and Denzel Mims, we'll see what happens there. Clearly they're going to use Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield as well. But I think LaPorta's got a great opportunity with one of the best play callers in Ben Johnson. So I like those 2 situations. And as I said, and we were talking off the air, if you don't love the group of Freiermuth, Ingram, Njoku, Dalton Schultz, Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett, and you feel like those are more floor plays as opposed to ceiling plays, you take one of these guys in the 2 rookies and you pair them with one of those guys. So at least you're getting some safe production. But if these guys hit, they could be, I don't want to say league winners, but that next year down.
Do you find yourself, Tera, drafting these rookie tight ends?
I do, yeah. Especially in leagues. When it comes to Kincaid, I am a little bit careful with him. I look more so at him. Like if I get a tight end premium league, that's where I'm willing to take that risk and jump in on Kincaid, because when I look at him and we're seeing, he's going to be on the field a lot, but they're not going to phase out Dawson Knox. He's still going to be a presence. And if we look at Dawson Knox in the history of the way that he's produced, we can kind of say, okay, obviously blocking big positive for him, but he has been a pretty good red zone target, and they've loved that usage for him. Josh Allen has loved that usage for him. I don't see him being phased out of that. So maybe Kincaid gets a big boost in terms of targets and reception opportunities and yardage, and maybe just on the lower end in terms of his touchdown opportunities. And maybe that's where you lean towards him in a tight end premium league, because he's getting that bonus for the pass catching opportunities. So that's where I would lean Kincaid a little bit, but I probably between the two lean towards LaPorta, just because, as Jamie mentioned, the opportunity is kind of through the roof there. He doesn't have a lot to compete with. He doesn't have any other tight end to compete with. And he's got the massive advantage of, he could technically, love Marvin Jones, but he could technically push maybe second, maybe, we've got Gibbs to kind of figure out as well, and the receptions that he's going to have within that offense. But if he can get up in there and be the third look in that offense early on while Jamison Williams is out, maybe push for the second look, step up immediately, I could see where he kind of can grab a prominent role in this offense. We know Detroit's offense and the massive output that they've had in the past. Jamie talked about the play calling as well. I don't see any of that really changing. So the opportunity is kind of through the roof for LaPorta.
Okay. More breakouts later. After this break, I do want to just say Dawson Knox, the last 2 years, just go back to the possible role that we could see from Kincaid. In 2021, Dawson Knox led all tight ends in goal-to-go routes run. And that one more than Kelsey in 2021. He was 6th in 2022. Didn't have a ton of them, but he did end up 6th. He had the same amount basically as Mark. He had the same amount as Mark Andrews. Andrews missed some time. I wonder if they want to have a tight end run a lot of routes near the goal line, and they didn't, feel as comfortable last year with Knox as they did the year before. I would love to see Kincaid pick up a lot of those, if not be the guy in that area. But I think the Bills have at least shown a willingness to involve their tight end near the end zone. All right, just want to throw that stat out there. I pretty much never get to say that stat. I thought it was pretty interesting. We will come back and talk about Tera's 4 breakout tight ends. Before we do that, please donate. If you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/fantasyfootball today, you're going to see there's a donate button at the top of the chat. And all you got to do is hit it and donate some money to St. Jude. Piece of cake. Let's get that. Let's aim. I don't know if they want me to set a goal, so we don't want to set it too high or too low. But let's raise some money. All right. YouTube.com/fantasyfootball today. Subscribe to the channel. Donate to St. Jude. Stick around. We're coming right back. Tera Roberts, who are you?
You should put a goal, and if we don't meet it, you just fill in the difference.
Actually, I think the 12 Jamies were going to fill in the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I contribute every year.
I do too.
Yeah, but I don't think you contribute enough. You got to contribute a little more.
Hey.
That Azer 14 that you're sitting on.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. All right. Tera? That's about as realistic as the bookshelf idea I had on the wide receiver breakout episode. Who are your 4 breakout tight ends?
Well, I love good late round tight end. Some of these not super late, others super, super late. Luke Musgrave, Chigo Okonkwo, Greg Dulcich, and Jake Ferguson.
Luke Musgrave, Chigo Okonkwo, Greg Dulcich, and Jake Ferguson. I've also been told that the goal is $5,000, and it is stated clearly for you on YouTube. That is our goal. Okay. So there it is, $5,000. We've raised 130 so far today, so let's get on that. All right, let's start with Dulcich, if you don't mind. We'll go out of order from the way you gave them. But Dulcich, we got maybe a little cold feet after we saw the Troutman usage, whatever, in the preseason. But what do you think about Dulcich? Would you take him? Would you pair him with someone else if you were going to draft Dulcich? Go ahead.
I would not use him as the only guy that I'm having. Like, maybe you pair him up with someone who's a little bit more reliable, drafted around maybe the same area. Maybe you want to go with like a little bit higher. Maybe a Dalton Schultz is someone who we think can be a very reliable pass catcher. Go with someone who may not have that massive upside, but can get you a reliable floor and someone that is going to be involved and have targets. It kind of lessens the risk there with Dulcich, because Yeah, we've seen some questionable usage in 2022 in particular, and hopefully the preseason is not an indication as well. But we did hear some positive, statements from Sean Payton and the way that they want to use Greg Dulcich within this offense. And I think if we look back at his 2022 performance, barring the fact that the season he did have some time off due to injuries as well, but overall his average points per game not that bad in terms of a guy that was a rookie in a legitimately terrible offense for Denver, unfortunately. And if you look back at the tight end position in Sean Payton's previous offenses, obviously we've got Taysom Hill kind of skewing things in the past. But if you look at like a real tight end like Jared Cook, he did have a couple of strong seasons, particularly in touchdowns in New Orleans. So I think Greg Dulcich kind of has a similar profile to be a solid contributor and maybe someone that sees some goal line opportunities and red zone opportunities.
Yeah. For the 10th time in the past week or so, Greg Dulcich averaged more yards per game as a rookie than Rob Gronkowski, Mark Andrews, and George Kittle did. They averaged less than 35 yards per game. Okay, we got Okonkwo. Let's go to Okonkwo. This was a popular one, but you're sticking with it even after the Hopkins signing, and of course we have Treylon Burks with a knee injury today. But Okonkwo.
Yeah, it's not related to the knee injury. We did get a blow here. I think there's kind of a limit to what this, because I think with the Treylon Burks injury, it was maybe something that's going to be, it's not season ending. It's, something that's going to be an issue for a few weeks, but not something major. So we're still looking at Chig Okonkwo as somebody who's going to be the third look in this offense behind DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks. And when he was that massive breakout player that everybody was loving, is the guy that we wanted to draft, it was because he was going to be that second target recipient behind Treylon Burks, and the DeAndre Hopkins signing just kind of killed it. But I still think that, he's being overlooked as someone who does have the potential to break out into a low-end tight end one. I think, the situation unfortunately has capped that top 5 potential, but he can still be a very viable fantasy option, a low-end tight end one, maybe finish between 8 and 12. Because when you look at the production that he had last year, he gets judged by that 2022 production because people underestimate the not impact, but the usage that Austin Hooper had within that offense. It's Austin Hooper, so it's underwhelming for him as a player. But he did exist. He did take a good chunk of the tight end production. He did technically have, I think, in terms of average snaps, he was slightly higher than Chig Okonkwo, even though Chig was the more productive tight end. So when we're looking at that and we're removing Austin Hooper and we don't see any other tight end that has any significant pass catching profile to replace that, the bulk tight end targets within that offense should go to Chig Okonkwo. And so while it's not going to get us that massive breakout season, we can have a little mini breakout here. And that's what I love for Chig.
Chig, would you rather have Okonkwo or Dulcich?
Chig. Trust it a
Jamie?
little bit more.
If this is a significant injury to Treylon Burks, that's going to keep him out more than just the initial report of a few weeks, which is going to probably get him back early in the season, then it's Okonkwo by a mile. And it's funny because these were two of my favorite breakouts prior to the Hopkins signing. I think if you're hoping for Okonkwo, and I go back to this, and I know it's not apples to apples, but the season, I believe, was 2020, maybe 2021, but I think it's 2020, with Ryan Tannehill supporting 3 guys being fantasy productive. It was A.J. Brown having a big season. It was Corey Davis having a pretty good season. And it was Jonnu Smith scoring, I think, 7 touchdowns. That's, I think, where Okonkwo is going to have to win, because I don't think he's going to get the volume unless just this is a completely different offense with a new coordinator. I believe Tim Howard is the offense coordinator, changing things from what things have been in the past, where they're so run heavy and they're, building off the run game to support the pass game. So can all 3 guys have success? Now, you could say also DeAndre Hopkins has not been able to finish, whether suspension or injury, the last couple of years. Is that something you have to worry about now as he's entering age 30? And if he misses any time as well, then Okonkwo's numbers should blow up. Adam, I think you recall, I spent some time talking to him this offseason at the place that he trains, and he's understanding his role a little bit more and his opportunity a little more and building off of that. And the guy who trained him said, yeah, you could probably get in the 40 catch range this year. You'll have a good season. He said 40, double it. So is he going to get to, north of 60 catches? I don't think that's the case, but could he score 6 or 7 touchdowns? I think he could be one of those touchdown guys. For Dulcich, for me, is Russell Wilson going to support all these guys? And is Sean Payton going to use his guy? And I know you brought this up, Adam. Adam Troutman's kind of been an in the way guy before,
but not really.
just an in the way guy in terms of like
on the depth chart.
On the depth chart,
right.
This isn't a Troutman versus Dulcich. This is Dulcich versus the field. And if Troutman's in Dulcich's way, then that's going to, I think, prohibit Dulcich from competing to where he should be competing. Because Tera's right. What he showed as a rookie and what he should be doing this year should be phenomenal. I just don't know if Sean Payton putting his hand on his head and keeping him down and Russell Wilson not being Russell Wilson to what we hope he could be is a problem.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, with the last two guys on your list, Jake Ferguson and Luke Musgrave. Who do you like better there?
I like Musgrave. That is one of my.
What do you expect?
You don't want me to. I can wax poetically on why I love him so much. There might be a mild case of bias there because I have been paying very, very close attention, particular to the Packers and all of their. God, I just love the potential of the young talent that they have in there, and Luke Musgrave is for sure one of those guys. Obviously, his draft profile in terms of stats was not as impressive as your guys like Michael Mayer. So he was a little bit riskier of a prospect. When you look at him and the potential that he has, the size, the athleticism, the speed, everything out of training camp and preseason, the reports have just been spectacular and glowing. And the thing about him is that we don't have to worry about him being now Tucker Kraft like him as well. And he's got a good profile as well, but Musgrave has earned the tight end 1 position. This is depth chart. It's been announced. It's all good to go. So we've got a rookie with this fantastic profile immediately stepping into the tight end 1. We're seeing him shine. We're seeing him being used all over the field. He should be an integral part of the Packers offense. And what I really love about him and why I think that the breakout potential is so strong with him, even as a rookie, is the fact that, he profiles as a guy who can serve as a strong red zone target. We obviously saw Aaron Rodgers is gone, and we know that the offense could adjust a little bit. But we've seen the tight end usage within Matt LaFleur's offense, and the tight end has been at times a key red zone target. We saw it with Robert Tonyan in 2020, where he had 11 touchdowns and just like 60 targets. So we know that the upside is there. And what I also love about it is that as I go on just glowingly about Musgrave, I love the fact that when we look at Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, they're big guys. Like, they're tall, they're big guys, but they're not those big body type of receiving options like an AJ Brown type. So if they're looking for that kind of big, big target in the red zone, I think that can be Musgrave. So yeah, it depends on what type of league you're in. If you're in a deep league, you can draft him. If you're in a tight end premium league, you can draft him. Best ball for sure. Regular leagues, maybe you're not looking at that. Maybe you're taking a late round stab, but at the very least, you're keeping your eye on him for, early waiver wire ads. But he's someone that you need to watch for sure.
All right, guys, I'm going to give you 3 more names here and tell me if the likelihood, the breakout-o-meter, 0 to 10, how likely are they to break out, have a big year? Juwan Johnson.
6.
8.
Oh, wow. Cole Kmet.
5.
6.
Cade Otton.
2.
3.
Okay. That's all I got for you.
Well, you should talk about Jake Ferguson. It's a good name to reference.
I should talk about Jake Ferguson. You know what, though, Jamie? You're going to call me out for something. I'm going to call you out for something. I just donated $20 to St. Jude. Bam. Where are you? I'm winning 20-0.
I'm proud of you. It's about time.
Well, just tell me your credit card number. I'll make a donation for you. Right.
I'll do one better for you. 954.
No. Where's that mute button? All right, Jake Ferguson. Yeah. Jamie, give me a quick thought on Jake Ferguson.
Well, I think you look at the quarterback tendencies, and Dak Prescott's, really leaned heavily on his tight ends, whether it's Jason Witten or Dalton Schultz, as we've seen. And I know there's some concern about the coordinator change, not Kellen Moore not being there and Mike McCarthy taking over that role. But as much as there's going to be more opportunities for the wide receivers because of the additions that they made and a return of Michael Gallup, maybe being closer to full strength, but Brandon Cooks also clearly in CeeDee Lamb. I think Ferguson is, showing up in camp, and that's hard to overlook. And Schoonmaker is not going to be 100% healthy, at least to the level I think that they want to trust him. So Ferguson's in a great spot. I think this is a second-year tight end who can surprise some people. So I would not overlook him as one of the late options in the greater late theory.
Any final thoughts, Tara?
Yeah, I completely agree. What little we saw out of him, he was a reliable tight end. So, again, he should step into that role. Schoonamaker at some point will be healthy, but again, he was more of a developmental type of receiving option as well. So I do think that Jake Ferguson is going to have every opportunity here to kind of take over.
Yeah. I just think Schaefer putting Jake Ferguson on the thumbnail for breakout tight ends is just a terrible choice. I mean, we're trying to get people to click on this stuff. You got to put Kyle Pitts there. And so he finally did. So, I'm glad he finally saw the light, man. All right. Well, listen, we actually raised $185 in an hour, basically, tonight, maybe 2 hours for St. Jude. That's terrific. We've got the rest of the month to keep raising money for St. Jude. So please donate to our draftathon. It's all going to St. Jude. Go to tinyurl.com/FFT donate to see all the items you can bid on, or just go to youtube.com/fantasyfootball today during our shows or anytime and watch one of our shows, and you can hit that donate button. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for being part of the Bonanza, the Breakouts Bonanza. We'll talk to you on Friday with a mock draft and a mailbag, and see you then.